Everybody, welcome back to the Zim's Video Journal, episode 38. Check it out, yo. Super Bowl 49 happened. Our Seahawks did not win. It was a great game. Would have been way better if they won. Like everybody else, I'm wondering why we didn't just feed the beast on those last couple of plays. But whatever. Great season. I'll get over it. I'm a little bit depressed about it. A little bit. This year, I haven't followed sports in a long time, and I followed the Seahawks almost all season this year. Really got into it, and it was fun. I went to my mom's house to watch the game. My kids were there in the other room playing Wii, and me and my mom were just jumping up around watching the game. It's a really fun game to watch, but just wish we could have pulled it out. Oh well. But anyways, get to the music. Get to the Zim's Video Journal, episode 38. Dropped version 9 of the podcast. David O'Leary and Stacey Myers. Hope you had a chance to check it out. There's going to be links down in the description of this video. If you haven't, go check it out. It's a great conversation. David was a writer. He's a writer, and he writes about music and different things, and he's also a musician. It was great getting the insights from him and Stacey about what it's like to be in a scene and their stories, and it was really good. Can't remember any specifics that I wanted to talk about. The topic of crowdfunding came up again. I wrote it down on my list. It says I'm kind of writing lists now throughout the week about what I want to talk about on these podcasts. I wrote the crowdfunding idea on the list, but I can't remember the specifics of why I wrote it down. They used Indiegogo, and it was, the idea of, I guess, as opposed to Kickstarter, there's Indiegogo, and I'm sure there's other ones. Indiegogo, you don't need to make your goal. You get whatever you make, and then that can be applied to whatever you want to do. And it makes sense if you have money that you also can put towards something. Whatever your fans want to support, you can supplement that. And it's more of a supplemental way of raising money for your albums or whatever you want to raise money for. Whereas Kickstarter is you need to make the whole thing or you don't get anything, and which makes sense if you are in a position where you cannot kick down some money if your funding doesn't get all the way funded. So they both make sense. You just got to be aware of where you are as a musician and a project, and choose the one that works best for you. One idea that I wrote down last time that I forgot to talk about was this idea of being in your comfort zone. And I don't know, you've probably heard this idea is like life happens outside of your comfort zone, or in order to grow, in order for something, the greatness to happen, you have to challenge your comfort zone. And I think about that a lot. And the reason I wrote it down is because I feel like I live outside of my comfort zone. I mean, it just, I guess it's tied into like the level of anxiety I carry around on a daily basis. And I don't know, I feel like in a lot of ways I always challenge myself, and yet at the same time, I find that I doubt myself a little bit more than I'd like, and it's a very confusing place. I feel like in a lot of ways I'm in a constant struggle, and I'm constantly outside of my comfort zone, and at the same time I wonder if I'm not at the same time, if I'm playing it too safe in ideas. And there's part of the, sometimes when I hear these stories about people being outside of their comfort or just going for a leap of faith, and they do things, you hear, I don't know, I have a hard time hearing that as just what it is, because oftentimes if I look at the person, they have a safety net, and a lot of people that claim to be outside of their comfort zone, from my perspective, also have a safety net. Like, they say, I quit my job, yet they have a partner that has a full-time job that pays pretty well. And so it's like, well, okay, you quit your job, sure, but your partner is able to support it to a degree, and it's not like you're going to be homeless, And when I think about how can I go outside my comfort zone, it's like I don't feel like I can just quit my job in order to pursue more arts, because I have my kids to support, and I don't feel like it'd be wise for me to take that to go outside of my comfort zone in that kind of way. Whereas, I don't know, there's just a lot of things in that way. it's an idea I think about a lot, and it's it's something that I think should be thought about, and when you're playing it safe and when you're not. And I feel like I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't have a really great answer for that at this time, but I feel like I do live outside of my comfort zone. I feel like I'm always challenging myself. I feel like I'm striving for something greater, with the podcast, with playing in a band period and doing the podcast. I work constantly at it, and it's not like it's easy. I work a day job full time, and then I find ways to work on my life after that, and I support my kids, and I try to be there for them, or I'm there for them, and it's just an interesting place where I am with my life, because it's like this idea that it kind of rolls into another idea I wrote down, which is I don't want it to be too easy, and it's definitely not been easy. Like creating something and trying to find out my path in life in a way. It's like I know I'm on this music path and I'm on this artistic path, but yet at the same time, it doesn't feel like a lot of great things have happened on this path for me in a way that it's both. There's both great things. Like it's really fun. It's really fun to play shows, and it's really fun to do the podcast and things like that. But it's like at this point I'm doing it all just for the personal fun of it. There's nothing I can see that's saying do this and something greater will become of it. I cannot see the greaterness out of it. And it just, part of that, because when it's not easy, when something does come, it makes it even feel better. Whereas like when you win the lottery, like when something just falls in your lap in this way and just kind of happens, how sometimes people just don't understand what they got and they end up spending all their money and going in debt just because they don't really realize it. Whereas if you have to work for it, you appreciate it more. And I'm hoping that something will, manifest from this work that I'm doing that I cannot see yet, but I'll just keep doing the work in what I believe in and what I love to do, and something greater will happen through it. Because it's like, the last so we did play a show up at Flight's Pub last weekend, and in a lot of ways it was really great and fun. We connected with the other bands that were on the Purgato and Passion Party, got to know them, did a lot of talking. The people from the NWCZ Radio Music Monday, Jason and Rebecca, were at the show, and I talked to them for a while. Sounds like they're going to have me on their show, which will be awesome. So there's these little wins in a way on that show, but in terms of like there wasn't very many people that came to see the show, and it was a pretty sparse crowd. And then there was some like on stage, I didn't have the same feeling of like this. It didn't feel as good, so I just was all muscle memory on the show. Like I could not tell what was going on. I was just like, all right, we'll just put it all out there, and hopefully it's translating, because I could not tell on stage. Whereas, ironically, because what was weird about it was they had a really huge PA, so I saw the PA and I was like, okay, it kind of made me relax a little bit. But they didn't seem to turn it up as much as it could have been turned up. So it was like the bass, like usually when I'm on stage, because of the subs that the venues have, you feel it all through the stage, and subs are omnidirectional, so I believe I should have felt the subs, but I didn't feel it on stage. And people in the audience said it sounded full and everything, but it just didn't feel full on stage. And when we run our in-ear monitors, we don't get any subs in there. We just get all the higher end stuff, really, and kind of keeps us where we are. But to get a really good scope of what the sound is, it doesn't give you that, and we kind of rely on the venue to push something back at us. And usually something does come back, and there wasn't much coming back, and it could have, I don't know the reasons why. Maybe the sound system was really well balanced, so all the sound was going out and nothing was coming back. Or maybe they just didn't have it turned up as much as some other places might. Because it's ironic that the sound system was way better than the one at Williams Pub, but the Williams Pub show felt way better. I could feel what was going on much better. So it's just an interesting thing. I'm hoping that maybe we can get a sub of our own that we bring on stage and just kind of put it between us on stage so that we can feel it, or something. I don't know. There's still work to be done with what we're doing on stage to make sure it feels good on stage. Because when you can't feel it, and I mean, I suppose if there was an actual audience there that was reacting to the music more, that would have helped, because you would have been able to read the audience, and there were so few people there that it really made it hard to make those connections as well, which is important as a performer. Is, you know, you'll hear time and time again from me, and I've heard it from many other artists, that it's way easier to play to a lot of people than it is to play to few people, and that was definitely the case for me on the last show. There was just like so few people there that we couldn't get a read on what was going on and how they were reacting. We got some great feedback after the show, and just like, so I believe it was probably pretty good, but you just couldn't tell in the moment. But that kind of brings me into this. My last point I'll mention. I guess I'll just leave it. I have one more point to mention that I wrote down, is the idea of playing on stage and playing music, especially when it's a good show, when you feel like it was a good show, it makes life worth it. You know, there's nothing, for me personally, like, it's a very empowering feeling to have played, to have done that, to have gone on stage, performed, and rocked out and known it. And when, like, it's like this last show was hard, it was just really hard to recognize whether or not that happened. But when it does happen, it like makes me feel super empowered and super good about my life. And it's like, this is awesome. It's like, the idea of, you know, I have performance anxiety in a way, and like, I get really anxious and nervous, but once I get on stage and start playing and get that juices going, it, like, I feel better about life. And then after I get off stage and get some positive feedback from it, it really helps me as a person feel good about myself, which is I really like about that. And I don't get that way. I don't really receive that kind of feedback in life other than being on stage and doing performance, and it helps me get by. But anyways, we have another show coming up this Thursday up in Bellingham. So if you know anybody in Bellingham, be sure to tell them we're coming up. It's at the Green Frog Acoustic Tavern. I'll put the link in the description of the event page on Facebook. So be sure to join the event. If you are up the north way of Washington, come on out. We'd love to see you. It's on Thursday. That's the 5th of February. Super excited. Get up to Bellingham. Hopefully there'll be some people out. And the venue has, you know, they haven't, as far as I know, they haven't told us who else is playing. So I'm hoping there's coming a couple other bands. We're playing first at 10 o'clock. So be out there and join us, and hope to see you. And this has been the Zim's Video Journal, episode 38. Might have been a little bit mellower, because I think just coming off that Super Bowl, like, pretty bummed out. But I'm moving forward. And we're all going to move forward and just keep it going and keep believing, because that's what you got to do. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you next time. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page. Going to be a whole bunch of links to all the stuff I mentioned in the description of this video. So have a good week, and see you next time. Peace out.